Hey, Trojan fans, have you ever seen a perfect football game?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Colkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support. You can show your appreciation, especially if you're watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. When you see the thumbs up button, it's easy. Click it, smash it, kill it. And I don't want you to miss one episode Monday through Friday. Hit that bell notification button. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. So, yeah, you know what? I've never seen a perfect football game either. Although I came pretty close to watching a near perfect first half of football when USC chopped down the Stanford tree for perhaps the last time in their storied rivalry. Final score 56-10. And I'm telling you right now, the game was not that close. USC was favored by 29 points going into the game. They obviously covered. USC could have put up a lot more. Look, they'll play again in the foreseeable future. However, until that time happens, the Trojans, USC fans, you have infinity bragging rights that you get to hang literally over the head of one of the most annoying opponents that USC has played throughout her history. But that's what comes with making them why Stanford is one of USC's true rivals. I brought up some of the more memorable games in their rivalry last week. But it's Monday, Locked On USC. After USC did what they did, I've got my reaction to the Trojans' huge win over Stanford. And this is going into their bye week. USC, everybody, you get a vacation. It's going to be rough because the team is really starting to click. So, hey, we'll see what happens when they come back in a week. But is there offense in college football? Is there a better offense in college football right now that's playing better than the Trojans with Caleb Williams at quarterback? Please, if you're going to make the argument, you better make your case because the Trojans, I don't think there's anybody else out there. They've scored at least 56 points in each of their 3 games this year. USC is one of the few teams that have played 3 games this year, but you get my point. And the 49 points USC scored in the first half, that was the most points the Trojans have put up in one half of a game since the second half of a football game known as 55-24. That happened against USC's biggest rival. Google search USC 55-24 if you can't figure that out on your own. And USC's 56 points against Stanford, it was the most it's ever scored playing against the Cardinal or the Indians or whatever mascot they were going by in that decade since they started playing the series back in 1905. The previous high USC put up 54 points back in 1952. In 1977, and I talked about this last week, USC beat Stanford 49-0. Okay, everything I just went over, none of that has anything to do with why this year's USC offense is the best there is. Just remember, if you didn't watch the game, Caleb Williams only played in the first half, and here were his numbers. They're disgustingly sick. He was 19 for 21 throwing the ball, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm going to put these numbers out there as well just to show you how how well the USC passing game is clicking. Miller Moss, when he played in the second half, and he played behind the second string offensive line that didn't do very well. He was 11 for 15, 112 yards, no touchdowns, but he did run one in. So USC offense passing 30 for 36, almost 400 yards, 393 yards, almost 11 yards per reception, 10.9 to be precise. How good was Caleb? He started the game 6 for 6. Then he missed with 2 straight incompletions, and then he finished the half going 13 for 13, and that included 3 touchdown passes and 6 completions of 15 yards or more. 7 different Trojans scored touchdowns in the game. I mentioned both quarterbacks scored. Oh, Caleb Williams, the first touchdown for USC. Yeah, he took off for 21 yards, and then he literally put the Cardinals defensive back, who was, tasked as the last man of defense. All Caleb did was bully him 3 yards deep into the end zone. It literally had that BMW, that big Mike Williams moment of it, where he was standing over the Bruin defender as he caught a pass. He didn't stand over the Cardinal defender. He just lowered a shoulder into him and said, "Get out of my way." After the game, Caleb said, "I'm not pacing myself at all. I'm going out there trying to kill. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make everybody feel our pain and play on our terms. Like Coach said, take that identity of ourselves and figure that out," end quote. If I'm opponents, I'm scared to death right now. How are you going to stop this USC offense? We're going to talk about in the third segment, because I don't think anybody's out there can stop this USC offense. There's no confusion. USC is good, maybe even unstoppable. USC put up 204 yards of total offense in the first quarter, and they did even better in the second quarter when they put up 210 yards on only 13 plays. Let that sink in. That's how efficient they've been. I can only imagine what the final score would have looked like had Lincoln Riley not be a nice person. I mean, because they took their foot off the gas and played the backups the entire second half. And I mentioned a minute ago, the backups on offensive line, they didn't have their best performance. But seriously, the way USC's offense was clicking in that first half, had they played the whole game, 81 points was a legitimate outcome. No joke. And that would have been against a Power 5 team. Oregon fan who's watching the show. The Trojans, they score on offense. They scored on 6 of their 7 first half drives. I mean, the first time the USC offense lined up for a third down, the score was 14-0. USC looked to be playing. They were playing in fact, they were even playing at a faster pace than we've been accustomed to. I asked Lincoln Riley about that after the game. Quote, "It wasn't some huge plan to do. We were just efficient and able to do it. The guys got in a good rhythm, and the front played so well, and we were making some plays in the skill group that we were able to use to our advantage." The score was 49-3 at halftime. And that also included another Zachariah Branch return for a touchdown. Branch's punt return touchdown for the Trojans, that put them up 28-0. And then all of a sudden it became 35-0 when Caleb made Stanford pay for another turnover that the Trojans defense created. Quote, this is Lincoln Riley again, "It's probably the best half of football we played this year. It was one of the more complete halves. Certainly, I think all 3 sides were firing on all cylinders, so we took some steps. Guys were really excited to play, really ready to play, really energized, and combine that with some really great football, end quote. The Trojans averaged 7.8 yards per carry, and they did not allow a tackle for loss in the first half. After the game, Brendan Rice, Lake McRee, and Marshawn Lloyd, they all said the same thing, that the best is still yet to come for USC on offense. This is what Lloyd said. It's just the beginning. Our goal is to be the best offense in the country. I know we can definitely do it with the amount of weapons and our quarterback and the O-linemen and the running backs we have. It's a work in progress, but I feel like everything has been going good so far. And again, they have yet to play an entire game together, a full game. On defense, the pressure by the defensive front, they resulted in 2 turnovers, and that kept Stanford out of the end zone. That included the game's first score when Max Williams probably should have had a pick six. The defense, look, they made significant progress, and I'm gonna give you my initial reaction in the next segment, as you can see on the rundown. But first, it's now time for your game changer of the week, brought to you by Athletic Brewing Company. Much like Caleb Williams is literally changing the way the quarterback position is being played, Athletic Brewing has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. His name is Superman, aka Caleb Williams. Anytime Caleb steps on the field, something extraordinary is going to happen. You better anticipate it. Don't leave your seat. Don't walk away from the TV. The Trojans' first touchdown was just one of the 7 the team scored against Stanford in the first half. But Caleb's first of 4 touchdowns that he was involved with cracked open a scoring barrage when he turned into a power running back at the goal line. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. Stanford's defensive back, he found himself being knocked 3 yards into the end zone, and that finished off a 21-yard run for the score. Before, during, or after the game, Athletic Brewing makes non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy them online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers, you can use code LOCKEDON to get 50% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. Pardon me. So college football season is here. And this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage. Each Friday, Locked On will go live from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. Locked On College Football Live will cover the college football playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in-depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Live every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. All right. I'll bet you dollars to donuts. What does that mean, by the way? That the Trojans defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, and cornerbacks coach, Dante Williams, I bet you they cannot wait to meet the media on Tuesday following practice because, let's be honest, the secondary and the defense in general, they stopped cold the Stanford Cardinal passing game. Non-existent. The defense gave up 10 points to Stanford, and that's the fewest USC has allowed during the Lincoln Riley era and with Alex Grinch coaching the defense. Yes, the USC defense versus the Stanford run game, they left me with some mixed emotions because I really don't think the numbers that they gave up back up as well as they played. There was still, look, they're not perfect. There's room to improve. They've got the bye week coming up. But instead of giving up any big plays through the air, this game, despite only surrendering 10 points, you look at the numbers, they gave up 200 yards on the ground. Here's what USC's defense did. They forced 2 fumbles, recovered one of them. They intercepted a pass. I mentioned Max Williams' interception. They stacked another 2 sacks into their totals for the year. And they held Stanford to 1 of 6 on third down conversions. And they allowed 15 passing yards to the starting quarterback before he got knocked out of the game. That's going to get it done. I kind of highlighted Ashton Daniels being knocked out of the game. After the game, Stanford's coach, Troy Taylor, he said he doesn't think it's anything serious. Looked like his arm might have been jammed when Solomon Byrd took him down. All of that I just talked about happened in the first half. It was 28-0 before Stanford crossed midfield. And then when they finally did cross midfield on their first play, USC forced and recovered a fumble. Now, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, the 46-point halftime lead is tied for the third largest by any Pac-12 team in a conference game ever. That was USC's way of saying goodbye to the Pac-12 conference and Stanford. And the defense needed to send a message because the offense can't be the only ones talking a lot, right? This is what Lincoln Riley said after the game. It looked like good defense. We got pressure on the quarterback. We caused turnovers. We did pretty much everything that a really good defense needs to do, end quote. Once Stanford's quarterback was lost for the game, the Cardinal passing game was held to 10 for 25 and 140 yards total. Yeah, look, some of it had to do with the quarterback rotation. That played a role. Anytime you bring in the backup quarterback, there's a reason they're the backup quarterback, right? However, USC also kept the Stanford tight end, Benjamin Urasek, in check. They pretty much made him a non-factor. 4 catches, 54 yards, no scores. They weren't converting third downs. And so, Trojan folks, fans, critics of Alex Grinch and the defense, let's give a little credit. This is a significant improvement for the defense. Now let's see if they can carry it over to the next game and the game after that. Rajon Davis looks solid, keeping that all-conference tight end in check. When he wasn't covering him, you had Jalen Smith, Christian Roland Wallace. Everybody in the secondary actually played really well. Yes, USC surrendered 200 yards on the ground. Absolutely. That's a big glaring number. Let's peel back the layers. Their leading rusher was the backup quarterback, Justin Lampson. He carried the ball 16 times. He only netted 36 yards. Overall, the carries, they had 41 carries to get those 200 yards. Casey Filkins, running back, and E.J. Smith, running back. They each had 5 carries apiece, 63 and 50 yards, respectively. Filkins, he had 1 carry for 59 yards. His other 4 netted 4 yards. That's good run defense. As far as E.J.'s, Emmett's kid, one of his 5 carries went for 29 yards. His other 4 netted 21. A little bit better success. So again, it's not as terrible as those 200 yards allowed looks. There were some big plays. And let's not forget the defense was rotating all game long, and the backups were playing most of the second half. You had some starters sprinkled in every now and then. Mostly, though, it was the backups. I mentioned at the segue that Max Williams should have had a pick 6. He knows it. His dad reminded him of it. I saw his father in the tunnel after the game, and I offered him my congratulations and a belated happy birthday. He had a birthday last week as well. And I said, how come Max didn't score that touchdown? He said, don't worry, I've already read him the riot act. We both had a really good chuckle about it. But wasn't it great to see what Max Williams is capable of doing without coming off an offseason of rehab? He's playing so carefree, so loose, and you can tell the difference on the field. The USC secondary, they did not give up any big passing plays. Obviously, you'd look at those numbers. What have I been saying all off season regarding USC's defense and their chances of helping the team make the defense? You know it. I'll repeat it again for those of you who might have missed it. I said for USC, the defense just has to be good. Not great, not 2008 Pete Carroll, just be competent. Make some plays, tackle better, and give your own offense a chance to score again and again and again. Get some 3 and outs. They're doing all of that. Granted, it's against 3 easy opponents so far. But again, for the most part, they're doing that. Then they're getting better each game. They didn't look so hot against San Jose State. They looked a little bit better as the game went on. They definitely looked the part against Nevada. They should against Nevada. And I said, I thought Stanford would be the first test because it's Power 5, conference, rivalry, yada, yada, yada. USC made it look easy. Bear Alexander, Jamil Muhammad, Solomon Byrd, they've been wreaking havoc up front. Those guys, and they're having fun doing what they want, how they want, when they want it. I'm starting to see a physicality from the Trojans on defense. Did you see Bryson Shaw? He was thumping guys who got in his area. Yeah. If you're going to go out of bounds, you better get out of bounds before he gets there because he will help you out of bounds. By the way, Eric Gentry and Mason Cobb are still limited. Cobb missed his second straight game with an undisclosed injury. Yeah. I'm going to let that one play out during the bye week. We'll see what happens. I'm sitting on something here. I'm going to leave it there right now. And let's not forget to mention special teams. They're not defense, but they can be an extension. Why? Because the Trojans now have a trump card in case the defense actually steps up and forces a punt. Do not kick the ball to Zachariah Branch if you're punting to USC. Because even if the USC defense slips up and lets the other team score, do not kick the ball to Branch or Michael Jackson III on kickoffs. I'm going to have more on this game tomorrow, on tomorrow's episode of Locked on USC. I'll be giving out my grades and position group breakdowns. It's what we do on the second episode of Locked on USC every week. I give you my initial reaction first, next show, grades, position breakdowns, and then we start moving on in the week. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. But first, we still got one more segment to go on this show. So don't go anywhere just yet. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can bet $5 and you're going to get $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5, you're going to get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Hello, go check that out. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from point spreads to player prop bets and a whole lot more. So visit FanDuel.com/locked on and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Last week, after USC put up 66 points and over 600 yards of offense against Nevada, I asked, what if the Trojans' offense is unstoppable? We know neither of USC's first 3 opponents had the capabilities of doing it. So if you're one of USC's opponents and you can't score possession for possession with USC, you're in a world of hurt. So who left on USC's schedule has the ability to stop this offense with Lincoln Riley calling the plays and Caleb Williams running the show on the field? I know maybe the bye week has a chance because the Trojans defense has to get better still, and they're not going to face a better offense all year. But after that, after the bye week, who's next? USC travels to play. They're going to be at Arizona State, and then they'll follow that up with a road trip to Colorado. Both will be the Trojans' first games on the road. So, but the question was, who on USC's schedule can stop this offense? Both of those teams, Arizona State and Colorado, they have the ability to score. Colorado much more so than Arizona State. Neither one of those teams have the ability to stop USC's offense. So the easy answer is no one. In fact, I'm not even sure there's anybody out there not on USC's schedule with the ability to stop this offense. We'll find out if Alabama even gets to the playoffs. They've got a really good defense. However, their quarterback play is just slightly better than Nebraska's. I bring that up because Colorado is coming up. And Colorado, they can score points, but they're starting to show some flaws. And USC's defense can expose that as well. I mentioned Alabama's defense. Nick Saban admitted a couple of years ago, good defenses don't beat good offenses anymore. So the most recent AP Top 25 and Coaches poll came out. I'm going to go over that here real quick for you. Of the teams ahead of number 5 ranked USC, yes, they moved up one spot in the poll. Who can stop this USC offense? Here's your top. Let me go over the top 25. Number 1, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Texas, Ohio, USC. There's your top 5. Number 6, Ohio State, Penn State, Washington, Notre Dame, Alabama drops down to number 10 following their loss at home to Texas. That's why Texas jumped. Number 11, Tennessee, Utah, Oregon, LSU, Kansas State, Oregon State at 16, Ole Miss at 17, Colorado at 18, Oklahoma 19, North Carolina at 20, Duke, Miami, Washington State, UCLA, number 24, Iowa at number 25. We know who USC plays. Who is going to stop this Trojan offense? And again, who among Washington, Notre Dame, Utah, Oregon, Colorado, and now UCLA left on USC's schedule have a legitimate shot of stopping this offense? Nobody. A lot of us are still around who watched those Pete Carroll teams go into a stadium and know they were going to leave with a victory. I'm starting to get that feeling again because right now that's just how dominant USC is on offense. It's kind of the flip the script. USC's defense, but they also had an offense. Let's just be honest. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback the Trojans have ever had. And they've had quite a few, including a couple of Heisman Trophy winners, Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart. USC's wide receiver room, it's disgusting. And by disgusting, it's disgustingly good. Marshawn Lloyd at running back isn't Lendale White, but he plays with that same Lendale White attitude. However, Lloyd likes to practice. After the game, he was if you heard Lloyd talk after the game, after the Stanford whooping, you would have swore that he played for Pete Carroll because he was talking about how USC's practices are harder than the games. I was like, whoa, I've heard that. I've heard this somewhere before. This is why I'm starting to get that loving feeling again. And Zachariah Branch, look, he may end up being better than Reggie Bush by the time he leaves USC. The only thing that stops this USC offense is USC. And they do that by being foolish and making bad decisions. Kind of like Caleb going deep on 3rd and 1 and keeping their offense from being perfect in the first half. What does he do? He walks up the field saying, my bad. That's USC's offense right now, and it's only going to get better. If they stay healthy, nobody is stopping this offense. That's it for this episode of Locked on USC. I'll be back with another episode tomorrow. I anticipate seeing every one of you, all 4,000 plus subscribers. Tell a friend. Let's get that number up to 5,000 and then 6,000. Let's keep going. I'm not here without you. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep it going. Until that next episode of Locked on USC, which is tomorrow, everyone, you know what to do.